Alright, we're going to be talking about the 10 best units to build on global launch to help you with PvP later on, PvE, early grinding, and just the whole game in general, right? Anything in the game. These are probably the 10 best units that will get you through the most content, and I'll be explaining them all right now. Some are definitely more towards helping you in PvP, and some are just good in both. If you're good in PvE, usually you'll be good in both unless you're a single target PvP unit. That's just how it is. But let's start off. Now, number one, I mean, they're not really ranked. I feel like it's hard to rank them because it depends on your teams, right? Now, what I do want to say before I actually do start is that blue units are the best to build. Any good blue unit, anyone who's pretty high up in the like PvE tier list for blue, is a good one to build. I've already made the best blue team video and the free to play blue team video, and I think you guys should check both of those out to get a very clear idea how important it is. And also, it's important to start building a blue team first because of the fact that you're going to start farming the red dungeon for gear first, because the red dungeon for gear is the one that gives attack, speed, and defense, the three that are basically universal to almost anyone in the game. So it's those three that you're going to be farming in the red dungeon, which means you need a blue team. So you got to build the blue units. All right, so that's basically all I'm going to say for now. And let's start. Lotus is by far probably the best unit on launch because of what he does. He has a skill 1 AoE that basically means you could spam it with a 50% chance to reduce mobility, which could fuck over a whole team. He has a skill 2 that's good against bosses, and where he extends debuff duration, applies a concentrated attack via skill page, and then reduces damage resistance. And it's pretty good. The debuff duration extension is very good. Now the ult is where it gets crazy, where he removes buffs. He applies a 50% damage taken increase to the enemies with the incapacitate buff, and he reduces speed by 55%, which basically screws everyone over for the next 2 turns. And it's very strong. This whole thing, I must say, is very strong, and because it's AoE, it's really good. So he has a double AoE, both slowing down the enemy. That's very nice, right? And he does do damage because of this, and if you have him duped out, he gets all attack. Now this guy is good in PvE because he has the double AoE, and that's going to slow everyone down and make them take more damage. And he's good in PvP because obviously he's slowing people down, which is an amazing and just toxic thing to have for PvP content. So this guy, you're not going to regret actually getting him and pulling him and building him. He is the only SSR you really need to actually clear the blue dungeon from what I've seen. I don't need to test out with SRs, but I saw on Pride one of the guides was that you could just use Lotus with 3 SRs and that you would still clear the team or clear the red dungeon and the LR stages. So yeah, that's number 1. Now, number 2, Mars. Mars is very good too. He is a amazing, phenomenal tank, the best in the game still on JP 6 months later, which I think is a bit worrisome, not gonna lie, which, you know, maybe might hint towards Black Asta being a tank. We'll see. But anyway, this guy just basically has stupid stats. First of all, he's a premium unit, or like an unfeatured unit, so he's on every banner, and every single one of his skills is useful. Skill 1 has a chance to apply taunt, and with skill page applies defense increase, which is very good for him because of his high defense. Skill 2, single target stun, chance to stun obviously, and if you get the stun, you reduce their defense, which is good not only in PvE but in PvP, right? Which it could just be very toxic. Goes up to 60% chance to stun at level 5, but can't be asked anyway. Now the ult also could be very strong because it gives himself a 34% damage reduction or fortify, and he also has a chance to extend the status ailment duration, which is toxic as hell, right? And this could be very funny if you actually do it right, in where you combo ult with William and you put William with Mars. Mars stuns them, and then he uses his ult and it extends the stun. Could be funny, a 2-turn stun, imagine that. So that's also good. Then both of his combos are good, and he has a special combo with Lotus that applies AoE taunt, all attack lower, which is toxic, and Lotus's side applies speed lower. And then you got the combined attack, which if he's not with Lotus, he has an AoE stun for 40% chance. This Mars is insane, really good, and his skill page is even better. And of course, you could get these skill pages for free. Mars is one of the ones that I recommend getting for sure, because it gives damage reduction every time he takes damage, and he gets the increased defense on the skill 1. So this guy against bosses could be good, mainly the guild boss. It's very good. And also, I didn't even talk about it yet, he has debuff immunity for 1 turn. So turn 1 you can't debuff anyone, which is just insane, man. It's so stupid. And also, he's a nice CC flex. So yeah, but for PvE, this guy is gonna help you grind so much. He's gonna soak up hits like there's no tomorrow, bro. I'm telling you. I am telling you, bro. Very good unit. Anyway, let's move on. Now, Lotus is going to be good for PvE when you get to farming the blue LR dungeon, if ever. But also just for, obviously, farming, let's say, XP. Because he's very good for if you're farming XP, because it's a non-mono stage. It's any color. And also for talents, right? Why he's strong? It's his barrier. He gives a barrier that's worth 190% of his magic attack, and you can get his M attack up to like 30-40k. So let's see, 40k times, and we'll add 50, so 240% at max. 240 times what, like 35k, we'll say. That's like 80-90k right there, and it could be easily higher if you buff his magic attack, or if he has my higher magic attack in general. And guess what else he gives here? Increased endurance, and also status element immunity for 2 turns, which means you cannot stun anyone for 2 turns. And he has 100 speed here, sure, but he gets an extra 7 speed here, which means his base speed is 107 at LR. And that is insane, because he could basically apply the stun block and also barrier very quick into the match. He's quicker than most of the game, which is very good. Now, his skill 2 also increases defense and damage resistance, which is a very good skill 2, but it does suck that it's an AoE because it could basically proc it counter. Then his skill 1 applies poison, which this actually could do damage because you're building him with magic attack. So you'll see. And then this also is very toxic because it gets up to a 100% taunt chance at level 4. So he could basically guarantee a 2-turn taunt, and taunts stop you from being able to use buff skills. His whole kit is really good, and his barrier is going to help you in PvE content, basically to stay alive, and his defense obviously too. So Lotus is a phenomenal unit, both good in PvP, basically hasn't been replaced yet. Noel's, like, it's just, his stonks go up, the more barriers come out, because you could stack barriers, right? So he's good in PvE and PvP. Amazing unit. Love Lotus. Now, Charlotte, you get her for free, which I am very happy about. I think it was a really good thing to make her for free. And bro, look at her in that suit, though. Okay, it's funny. I just want to say her chin looks long as hell. It can't be just me. That chin looks long as hell. Anyway, let's go on. I love Charlotte. I just want to make sure that's known. Charlotte is very good, mainly her skill 2. I'm just going to quickly go over her skill 2. Basically, guarantees reduced defense, and at level 4 gives a mark, and when you kill someone with a mark, you get an extra turn. Anyone who kills a person with a mark gets an extra turn. So you could guarantee some DPSs like 3-4 turns, which I think is stupid. And then the other thing that's good about her kit is her combo attack, where it applies incapacitate. What does this do? I've never really checked. Anyway, okay, is it an AoE? Oh, my bad. That's an AoE. No, it's single target. Yikes. Anyway, this applies level 5 incapacitate, which makes him take 70% more damage. 1 turn though, but for nuking, this is very strong. So building her is good for when the raid comes out. And also just this, the reduced defense and mark, amazing for grinding early on. And also in PvP, you could definitely run her. She is a pretty solid option. Not the best, but a good option. Now, Blue Yami, building him, any blue DPS, right? We'll just say Blue Yami and any other blue DPS if you don't have Blue Yami. It's just good because of the fact that you want to be able to finish the blue dungeon, and to do that you need to have a DPS, right? You need to have a DPS. So by blue DPS, I'm saying solid. Luck is the last one, I'd say, but solid, Ghost, and Yami at launch. Kyoto comes later, but those 3, mainly Yami for launch, is going to be the best. He has this an ultimate that is single target that does pretty good damage. Applies total silence, but I don't think it really does much to enemies on PvE. But he has an AoE that's pretty good, and if you have William too, this is going to do a lot of damage. And this one also does a lot of damage because he gets the extra all attack increase for 30% if he has more than 4 SP, which makes it very strong. And he's a SP unit, so it's pretty good. And also, if you do have his do passive, he does get this isn't his do passive. Just he gets increased favorite damage by 15%. When he gets that LR, which is very strong, okay? When you're considering that in PvE he's fighting red units, so it's good. His damage is pretty decent. He's the best at launch. Skill 1 does damage, skill 2 does damage. Alt could do more, but it's still pretty good. And then in PvP, he's very good against red units. And guess what? The other 2 main red DPSs is Red Yami and Red Asta. What did I just say? Red and red, right? So he's doing increased damage by 15% above the already type of advantage 20% damage increase. So yeah, Blue Yami is very good for launch. He falls off quick, but to build him for launch, sure, go ahead, but I don't think you should chase him. I'm just saying if you have him, build him. Okay, that's how I'm saying it. Now William, he is basically enabling all the DPSs that are going to be on launch. because blue Yami is a attack DPS because it's an attack and magic attack. Red Yami is an attack DPS, and Asta is an attack DPS. And then also Raya, when he comes out 2 weeks later, is an attack DPS, and then we get our first actual good magic attack one being Licht. So yeah, where is William? So William is going to be good for enabling all the DPSs to do more damage with the 84% attack increase, while also giving an insane speed buff of 65% single target. So this is really good. This is really good. Then his ult is really good, and it's going to be good for PvE and PvP because it's going to be giving damage reduction by 34% and a counterattack for 1 turn to the person with the highest attack, which is very strong in PvP especially. You are going to see me do a lot of Red Yami videos where basically he gives the counter to an AoE Red Yami, and that Red Yami, guess what? He's going to counterattack AoE the whole team and just kill them. So it's very strong. Then his skill 1 could stun, 40% chance. So he's good, and he has very high speed, 120 with no dupes, 126 at max dupes. Building him with defense is going to be very good. Just overall solid unit, and I think you should definitely consider building him, specifically, like, I guess, leveling him up. Now, Red Asta, PvP unit mainly, and also for raids. This guy you could wait a bit, but once raids come out, probably a week or 2 in, I think 2 weeks in, but you want to have him built like at least 2 weeks in. But for PvP, this is probably going to be your go-to. I would say this should be your go-to. He has the best like damage in the game at launch. He gets an extra turn just for attacking someone who's over 80% HP. And obviously he does extra damage against bosses on his ult. And it's very good. And he could get an extra attack on his skill 1. And then obviously you also get increased damage dealt every time you use the skill 1. So you could get an extra 10% increased damage dealt for free. But you're not really going to be using it that much. But it's just a little fun thing. What's cool though is this was his old passive in the beta from pretty much a year ago from now. This was his passive where you get 2% damage dealt every turn. And now it's part of his skill 1. So this guy's damage is obviously completely single target. But he's very good. And he could be very good for a red team. Especially because dispatch system. I keep on messing up patrol and dispatch, but because dispatch is going to be there, you could use this Red Asta with Red Charlotte on the against green stages, and it's going to work. Now for PvP, this guy is going to shine the brightest for sure, but I personally think Red Asta is a very good PvP unit. Now I could see the argument being made that you do need to dupe him out, but we should be getting a good amount of dupes, and I don't think duping him out is a bad idea, because once he's max duped, he gets 109 speed, which if we, like, okay, if I'm looking at it, 109 speed is probably higher than 90% of the game. He is in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. He's like 15th highest speed, and there's like 50 plus units in the game. So, you know, it's very high. And of course, everyone who's higher is not any DPSs. He has the highest speed of a DPS at max dupe. So if you really want to push it, go for it. But just having him is very good. In PvP, he'll be good against bosses. I think his main thing for me is he's very good against bosses. He doesn't really get one-upped by anyone for bosses if you really build out Asta. So yeah. Now, Federal, amazing PvP unit. You could use him in Hall of Illusions too, I guess. And then also in Raids. Raids, he's going to be very good, because he's going to give the speed increase, increased crit rate, increased attack, increased damage dealt. So yeah, no, this Federal is going to be pretty solid. And especially for PvP, the speed increase is going to be good. So yeah, Federal is a pretty nice unit. And then Voltos, wherever my bestie Voltos is, he gives stamina increase, or mobility, I guess, since that's what they call it. Mobility increased by 20% when he uses the ult. And turn 1, you have 80% mobility, usually starting off. You usually would have more than 80% mobility when you start off the match. So when you use this ult, you get to 100% mobility, and when you're at 100% mobility, you attack next, which means he basically makes the whole team attack next. Now, if the other team has a Voltos, then he's obviously going to make their team attack right after, and it's going to be reset to 0 if everyone's at 100% mobility. It then goes off his speed usually, so that's basically how it is. Now, he also increases magic attack, which is going to become more useful later down the line. And yeah, no, I didn't know this was specifically reduced mobility immunity, but that is pretty cool. He's basically just there for PvP completely, but I think that as a PvP unit, he's very good. Now, Charmy is basically the GOAT. I didn't use her because I was a whale, right? So I didn't need her. But as a free-to-play, and probably on global, I'll see. Maybe I won't need her because I spend. But she heals and very well. So you're going to be using her skill 1 and ult and skill 2 a lot. This heals the most, but this could heal AoE if she gets the extra attack with a 50% chance. So her Building her, obviously, please build her magic attack, by the way, but she's going to be very strong, and I do recommend actually building her for your gear team, even day one. Like, if you want to build her day one as a healer, she's amazing, and especially for the blue team. And she's an SR, so obviously she's going to be much easier to get. So yeah, that makes pretty sure 10 units we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, let me know what units, what teams you guys are going to be building. I'm very interested to see who. But Blue Charmy is a lot better than I gave her credit for in PvP. And yeah, they basically made 3 for 3 good Charmies. And it's funny, this Charmy is just a better version, but she is obviously not going to be there on launch. But if she was, oh boy, this would have been insane. It would have been insane. This would have been a like insane must summon. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's look at which one do we end it off on? I haven't seen Williams in a while. Let's end it off here. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.